Alrighty, I apologize for my absence for a few weeks, but 2 weeks ago was midterms, which was harder than my week of finals last semester, and last week was spring break, which was a reset that I needed. I was tired, and I needed to do nothing other than work out, see my friends, watch movies, etc. But even though it was a week of reset, a lot of weird emotions were felt, and that resulted in a journal entry. And I usually like to keep these videos free flowing and naturally bring up my topic, but this journal entry was really intriguing and I wanted to share it. So I'm going to read it to you. It says, "Life has without a doubt been strange lately. My passions have been wavering, my motivation to live life is somewhat low, and I simply feel tired. I say all of this right as I'm coming back from spring break, which is odd. Over a week of rest and reset was what I needed after midterms, but I still feel like I need more. Maybe that's just because the hardest part of my college experience drained me in a way like no other. Maybe it's the seasonal depression. Maybe it's the inescapable worry that my desirable future is unobtainable. As I've mentioned in my first video and to other people in the past, I have an ideal image of what I want my life to look like. A lot of hard work is involved, meaning there are many more exhausting weeks to come. Normally, I can handle the challenge. I don't always welcome it, but I know I can endure it. However, I'm coming off a low right now. In my desired journey, there's going to be a lot of those. Many lows, all in order to receive an extended high. What's troubling me is that I don't think I have it in me to endure these struggles. I'm recovering from an exhausting week where schoolwork, social issues, and internal debacles tired my being. In a journey filled with struggle, I'm already fatigued. As you can imagine, this has led my mind to wander towards unwanted places. Thinking poorly about myself, worrying about my purpose, and seeking an easy out. All things that have been going on in my mind. Further down the spiral, I start to question other things. God, why have you done this to me? Why did you make me this way? I didn't admittedly blame him, but I subconsciously began to. He planted such a beautiful idea in my mind, all for my own flaws to hold me back. I was born and raised to believe in God's plan and purpose for each and every single human being. That doesn't mean it's always easy to see. It's easy to ignore God in times of distress. Easy to forget his plan. Throw senseless anger at his name or question his helping ability. I was lost. I may recover, but I'll likely lose myself again and again, and maybe again after that. The beauty behind this tragedy is that I will be found time and time again. For a time, that sounded exhausting. Experiencing low after low after low, having to claw myself back up to the mountain time and time again. When the self-pity started to dissipate, I remembered a comforting fact. I won't be lifting myself up alone. God will help me get up each time I fall. Even when I lose altitude and disgrace our Lord's name, He'll be there to help me regain my footing. You see, His plan doesn't purposely send you towards pain. Rather, it's the complete opposite. For lack of my own original words, I'll let a certain fictional character define what God's plan looks like and what it may mean.
See, I was pretty angry at God and bitter towards his world. How could a loving God blind me? Why? Anyway, he told me God's plan is like a beautiful tapestry. And the tragedy of being human is that we only get to see it from the back. With all the ragged threads and the muddy colors. And we only get a hint at the true beauty that would be revealed if we could see the whole pattern on the other side. As God does.
Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, from the Marvel series Daredevil and all the comics I assume that you're aware of, Goes on to say that maybe his tragic, burden-filled, troublesome life is exactly how it had to be. If you watch the show, you know the shit that he went through. And even though I'm not a blind man with heightened senses and an alter ego, Matt speaks a relatable truth. I don't have his struggle. I'm lucky to have parents and a life without abundant loss and any other trauma-inducing events. And yes, this is a fictional character I'm referencing, but also I watched that show and it has some amazing religious commentary that sparked this idea for this video. And also I just like to include things that I'm interested in at the current time. And I just finished that show last night and it was phenomenal, but that's beside the point. God's plan isn't something that you always see. He doesn't make it extremely visible to you. I think a lot of people get caught up in that visibility issue. Situations like the burning bush in the Bible are not seen commonly, not even in the Bible itself. He doesn't show face in your daily life right in front of you and tell you this is what you need to do or this is what I have in store for you. Rather, he's subtle, and that's why I think this plan is beautiful. Like Matt says, we can only see one side of the picture. One day, when we die and hopefully get to heaven, we'll be able to see his perspective, that side of the tapestry, and I think that's the end goal of life. His plan is for us all to see his side of the picture, his side of the beautiful tapestry, but yet again, we get bits and pieces of it throughout life. We only get those segments of the actual art when we listen to him, when we pay attention to his subliminal messages, his subtle intervention in our lives. If you get caught up in your own worries, your own woes, and you start to deny his plan and question why he puts you down this awful path, I'm here to remind you that you're right where you need to be. It may feel weird knowing that where you need to be is a low, but they're necessary, and they're part of life. He's not leading you towards pain and stress. Rather, he's there to help you stray away from them. Free will is something that I personally believe in, that all people of my religion believe in. And when free will exists, there's without a doubt going to be pain and struggle. We don't know what we're doing all the time. We lead ourselves towards places that we probably don't want to be. And a lot of the time we don't do it purposely. But like I said in my journal entry, it's not up to myself all the time to claw myself back up the mountain. Rather than lifting myself up the mountain, God will help me do it. That reminds me a lot of a little story / like parable, whatever you want to call it, that I heard a lot in my formative years at Catholic school and from my mother. This story involves a man walking along the beach, which represents his whole life. He sees Jesus' footsteps right next to him, but in the hardest times of his life, he sees only one pair of footsteps, and he asks God, why? Why in the hardest times of my life, I only see my footprints? And God responds, in those times, I picked you up and carried you. I've been through some lows recently. It's been a weird couple of months. It's been a weird couple of years. But that's just life. I've led myself towards good places, towards bad places, and the entire time, Jesus was by my side or even carrying me. Like I mentioned, it's easy to forget that, but I want you to appreciate the moment you're in, no matter how hard it is. Because like I said, you're right where you need to be. The fatigue I felt was worsened by the unfaithful thoughts I had towards God, wondering why his plan has led me down a path that I no longer want to be a part of. God's plan is really real. I can easily identify times in my life where there's only one pair of footprints in the sand, and I know that it was Jesus carrying me. Also look at the fictional character of Matt Murdock's life. where, yes, again, it's fictional, but I don't care, it's a good reference. His life sucked, and that he kept the faith and remembered what God's perspective is and the beauty that he sees from his side of the tapestry. We all need to remember this in the worst times of our life and the best times. It's not easy. Trust me, I know. And I know I'm repeating a couple things, but it's important. I feel like talking about these things is part of my purpose. Remember my words. Remember God's plan, because it exists.